Hello everybody and welcome back to Solar Gateway for episode 2 and also 23. It's slightly awkward, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Also, we just got back from orbit. Yeah, that was a little fast. So I'm pretty happy with that. We did spend our science. We got basic science out of that, so that is perfect. So we're going to need to upgrade our rocket here. And let's just upgrade the untitled spacecraft, which is both of these. That's this guy right here. And for some reason, in the VAB, I'm getting frame drops in the recording. I'll have to investigate that. Hopefully it's not too bad. I'm seeing it's at like 50 FPS, so that should in theory be okay. But yeah, that'll be interesting. So we're going to update this module up here a little bit. First things first, we're going to want to put in a Science Junior as well as a service bay, and this is going to add a lot of weight. So this rocket may no longer be capable of getting to orbit. I'm not entirely sure on that. We'll have to evaluate that a little bit later on. And of course, there's also the parts and mass requirements, and we're going to blow right by those. So that's something that we're going to have to consider as well. But first, we're going to put a heat shield right here. Excellent. And this guy can then be moved inside the service bay. So let's just get zoomed right on in here and place it, I guess, on top. It likes to be placed on top. Not there, though. I want it to be basically centered. That is not centered in the slightest. Okay, let's just move this a bit manually. About like... Is that centered? Not quite. That's about centered. Maybe this way ever so slightly. How's that? That looks about right. Okay, so with that in place, now we can go ahead and put in a rechargeable battery pack, which I'm doing for sure right now. That doesn't connect to the bottom. That's right, I forgot about that. It likes to connect to the side or the... Oh. Yeah, we're not going to have it sticking through the side like that. We're just going to go ahead and place the Batman in like that. That'll do. In fact, we may want to put that in symmetry for weight reasons. Yeah, that'll do. And then we can put in the barometer. I believe the barometer can go on the bottom. Nope. Well, if we connect this in here, now we should be able to connect it in, right? No, that's a negative. It doesn't like to connect to the bottom anymore for some reason, so I guess we'll just put it into the top. So we'll put the barometer there, and we'll put the thermometer... Oh. I did not need to have this be on symmetry mode. We'll put the barometer there, and... No, I didn't want to move you. I'm just gonna undo that. There we go. And I want to grab the thermometer. Okay. We'll put the barometer over here. Oh, the thermometer's actually up inside of here. Okay, we'll just do that. We'll place the thermometer right there. And now we'll be able to have much better science. Of course, as I said, we're blowing right by the parts and mass limit. So we're going to have to consider that. But first, we're going to need to put on a experiment storage unit. That's going to be necessary. Now, we don't have any two-seater pods yet, so we're going to have to stick with this for now. And I think a pair of drogue chutes are probably sufficient, but we'll go for 4 drogue chutes. As far as power generation goes, we don't have anything for that yet. Okay, now we are well past our mass and parts limit, but what are we looking at here in terms of the actual craft? And also, I'm going to actually name this, and we're going to go for the Griffin. And we're going to call this the Griffin 1X. Same sort of naming scheme as the previous, so that'll be fine. So, what's our thrust to weight looking like? 3.06, only a 24-second burn, of course. Now, we could quadcouple these, now that we are going to be past our limitations. And that might give us the thrust to weight that we actually need here. So if we quad couple that and run this like this, 3.76 for 24 seconds. Is that exactly the same thrust to weight? Maybe. This thing should have the DV to get into orbit, though. Now, I don't think we have control surfaces yet. We do not. So we're going to have to save this, and we're going to have to upgrade our... Is that our VAB or our landing pad that we need to update for this? Or is that both? I'm a bit unsure. Max vessel size. Okay, so this upgrades our weight. And this upgrades our parts supported. Okay, so now we can launch that. But first, I want to check mission control here. See if there's any halfway decent contracts. We could test a TD-18 decoupler at the launch site. That'd be free money. I will accept that. Okay. Do we have a TD-18 on this thing? This is a TT-38K. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create ourselves a new craft with a Mark 1 command pod, and then we are just going to put on the TD-18 decoupler, like that, because that's the one that we need for the test. Yep, okay. Then we'll launch this. Hopefully it doesn't send our pod catapulting up into the sky. That would be slightly awkward if it did. Apparently that didn't count as a test. I didn't see run test in there. We'll recover that and refly it. But we met all of the other, we got 0.8 science for that somehow. Okay. We got all of the other requirements, right? So let's just check this here. Was I clicking on the wrong thing, perhaps? To perform the test, activate the part through the staging sequence. Okay, so activating it through here doesn't count. We have to actually stage it like that. Perfect. Excellent. Got ourselves some free money. As well as some free science, which is always nice. Okay, so is there another thing that we can do in here? Test a heat shield landed at Kerbal. Thumper on a suborbital trajectory? That would be awkward. Now, I think what we need to do next is another, or hopefully orbital flight, and get ourselves some of our repeatable science done now that we have a experiment storage unit. So we don't need to have that anymore. We can go ahead and load the Griffin 1X. Fantastic. In theory, this thing should still be capable of getting to space. That said, we have less fuel than we did before, but we had 500 extra DV before, right? And that was with some wackiness with the launch and inefficiency. So as long as I do better with the launch, which is a bit of a long shot, we should be okay. But let's double check the center of mass compared to the aerodynamic overlay, and yeah, that needs some work. This is not going to be stable. We could try moving these guys down. Alternately, we could leave them exactly where they are, and instead duplicate them and place one on each of these stages. Like this. That gives us the aerodynamic stability we're looking for, although it's probably too aerodynamically stable like this. We could potentially move these a little further down on their decouplers. That moves the center of mass dramatically, though. The other thing we can do is move up the center of mass by putting on a few extra fuel tanks. Something along the lines of that. Did that give us more or less DV? 3246 compared to... there was one other there. 3118. Okay, so that's more DV. Okay. I mean, this is not cost efficient being on T100 tanks, but it did move our center of mass up a little bit. I did not mean to do that. I'm just going to undo it. Excellent. Okay, I think we're ready for a test flight of this particular thing, although we need to make sure that this staging is different. We want the drogue chutes to be here, the main chute to be here. And in fact, you know what? We should probably lower these down to be 2 drogue chutes, as well as 2 additional main chutes on here. We don't need that for this particular landing craft, right? But we might later on. So that's what we're going to do. 2 drogue chutes to slow us down to main chute speed. And yeah, that should be... I mean, this is so overkill right now, but we're going to be leaving this on our future recoveries. So that'll be fine. I don't think we need another stage up here, although it wouldn't be the worst thing to have a stage up here. So this would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we could have like 12 and 4. That said, we don't have an engine for that other than a swivel, and if we're going to bring another swivel, we might as well just have this swivel. So once we have the Terrier unlocked, we can think about going 12 and 4. But right now, I think we're more efficient to be like this. Okay. Let's see if this thing gets into space. This is going to be interesting. Are we accepting any reversions of this? Well, we're going to be grabbing this data immediately. Like so. Excellent. And now we're going to recover it. Fantastic. So that got us 13.5 science. Is that enough to actually get anything? Actually, it's enough to get the Reliant and the Thumper. And the T200. This is actually quite good for us at this point. It wasn't great before, but now it's quite good for us. And then advanced rocketry is what we're really aiming for at this juncture. That said, now that there's no longer an alternator on the Terrier, we are going to need access to photovoltaic panels pretty soon. But our batteries should be able to hold us over for a while. So we're going to have to rework this a little bit with the new tech that we've got. I'm going to immediately remove these. We're going to upgrade them to Thumpers. And do we even need to 4-couple Thumpers? I kind of feel like we don't. But it would also be kind of hilarious to 4-couple Thumpers. So we're going to go ahead and grab these guys, move them up a fair amount, and then grab these guys, move them down a fair amount, like so. The angle on these is not ideal currently, so we're going to go ahead and see about fixing that a little bit. Maybe about there. That's better. Okay. This is a sizable upgrade in terms of DV right now, but we're going to take these off for now. We're also going to take these off for now, and this engine, because this is currently 16 T100s. And a T100 costs 150. A T200 weighs exactly the same as 2 T100s and has exactly the same fuel as 2 T100s, but costs 25 less. So instead, we're going to go for 2, 4, 8, 16. And we're going to get rid of that stack. Okay, so that's going to be more fuel economic, or more fuel economical, I guess, is the term I'm looking for. And then we'll put on our SRBs, something like... I mean, we could put our SRBs up here for stability purposes. If we do that, they're very likely to impact here as they detach and swing out. So I don't like it. So instead, we're going to put the SRBs about right here. Now what's our thrust to weight here? Probably ridiculous. Actually, that's only 2.74. But it's a much longer burn, of course. Okay. So, 2.74 isn't awful. We'll put aerodynamic nose cones on this. And then we are going to need to put some winglets for stability purposes out here. We're not going to carry these beyond what we have to. Excellent. That'll get us stable. Do we have access to struts? We do not. These things are potentially going to be waggling all over. So, we're going to run this. But this is going to be an experimental launch. If these waggle around and cause issues because they're not strutted together, then we will be okay with reverting this. If there is a different issue that we did not foresee, we are not okay with reverting this, and we will recover it instead. We'll just do an abort and recovery. So in that case, then we do have access to the swivel, or rather to the Reliant now. But this is fine. So let's go ahead and see if we can fly this. That already looks pretty waggly. Definitely a little frightening. I'm going to grab this material study here, and we're going to recover it, just for the science. There we go. And we're going to try this one more time. Obviously, we don't have access to struts yet. So let's go ahead and launch this. And we'll see if this gives us enough to get struts. Yeah, look how loose those look. If the looseness here causes us problems, which I think it will, then we're going to be a-okay with reverting this. We could potentially mount these more central to not have issues, but I'd prefer not to. Ooh, that looks disgusting. Let's grab all of this data that we can. Put it up in the experiment storage unit. Well, it's not causing too big of an issue. However, what is with the recording frame rate? That is bizarre. What is it doing? I have no idea. If I minimize the game, it goes back to 60 FPS. Okay, so it's clearly a game issue. I guess we will turn off reflection, or turn down the reflection texture resolution? Does that help? That does. That immediately brought it up to 50 FPS. Okay, and I don't even notice a difference. So that's fine. We're just going up right now. I'm not confident in these at all, so I'm just burning them out. I'm cutting our fuel consumption right now. We can't turn off our SRBs, of course. Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead and turn. Our apoapsis is way high right now. So we're just going to aim for orbit. Okay. So yeah, that's definitely spooky without control surfaces trying to get the turn going. This is not efficient at all. And in fact, we should be waiting until we're closer to the apoapsis. And we can't do maneuver nodes right now. So once again, I'm just going to, we're in space right now, we'll crew report, and we will collect all of the information, temperature scan, atmospheric pressure scan. We can't reset our experiments here, but that's fine. So collect everything. And now we will warp until the prograde node is basically at the horizon, and that's when we'll burn. We don't have much horizontal speed right now. And actually, we should probably start our burn more like now, just to be on the safe side. Once these are upgraded to control surfaces, that'll be a lot better. Also, this music seems a little loud too. Sorry, but I'm going to bump this down to 24%, but I'm also going to turn the music down to 35%. That's better. Excellent. So I don't like how high our apoapsis is, but once we're able to actually turn with the SRBs running, that will make a big difference. We're not going to try to circularize this orbit either. I'm just going to get into orbit. We don't really have the DV to spare for circularization. Okay, we are in orbit. About the same amount of DV to spare, so that's a good thing. Now, I don't think we're going to get to in-space high with this apoapsis. We'll see. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be in-space high. No, it's not. That's okay. We're just going to warp around, and we're going to look for some biomes. Although, before we do that, I'm going to pop back to the Space Center and get us an astronaut complex upgrade so that Jeb remembers how to EVA. There we go. Okay, Jeb. Yeah, I know how that all works. Excellent. Jeb, go ahead and EVA. Grab some EVA reports. Excellent. And we'll collect that. And now we're just going to warp forward. Frame rate's tanking, or was tanking a little bit again. Interesting. It's not tanking in the actual game, it's just the recording. Which tells me that it's like a CPU overload or something. That's probably what's happening, but it's not saying that the CPU is overloaded. Which is kind of weird. Well, let's just continue gathering as much science as we can. We can't materials study right now, because we need a scientist aboard to be able to reset that. Which would be a nice thing to have, to be sure, but we don't have a two-seater pod, so we're just going to get as much science as we possibly can. Highlands. Yes. EVA that. Excellent. What else do we have? Badlands. We'll grab that. Okay. Mountains. Fantastic. I think there's still a setting that is causing the recording to drop in frame rate, but I'll experiment with that after I'm done with this episode, which is almost over. In fact, we're probably not going to bother doing a re-entry this episode at this point. That'll be next episode, but we need to make sure that we grab all of our science that we can first. We're probably getting pretty close to the periapsis again. Yeah, it's definitely the frame rate's tanking. I'm going to investigate that after this episode. It wasn't doing that with the previous settings, so it's clearly something that this new install is doing. So I'll have to look into that. For right now, though, let's see what we've got. It looks to be, to me anyway, Deserts, okay. I think that's probably pretty much all of them that we're going to get. Regardless, that is a lot of data that we got from this flight. And yeah, that is officially all of it that we're going to get. Unless we just wait for Kerbin to rotate. Now, I am actually going to hop into the settings here really quickly. I'm only on 2x anti-aliasing. That shouldn't be causing it. Potentially reflection refresh mode being on every frame. Maybe we can bump that down. Like, we had a significant change from the reflection texture and refresh mode. So I'm going to try bumping those down and see if that already feels a lot better in the recording. Excellent. Well, I'll keep an eye on that in future episodes, but it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to bring Jeb home once again. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.